So congratulations on the launch yesterday of the Great Wall brand. Just give us a brief intro on the brand to start with.
Thank you, first of all, for being here. So Great Wall Motor was established in 1984. It's been almost 36 years. And we come to India. We launched it formally yesterday under the brand name of GWM.
Yeah.
So we bring in two category of vehicles. The first one is Haval. Haval is basically an SUV brand, and we call it a global intelligent SUV expert. And Haval has been market leader in China for the last 10 years in terms of SUVs. So that talks about the kind of pedigree it has, the kind of technology, features, and design that we bring on the table. Because China is the toughest market, and if one needs to crack it, you can understand how difficult it would have been.
Yeah.
So which gives us more confidence. India is going to be the third largest country maybe sometime soon in next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think this is the right time to make the entry. And also, while there has been some turbulence in terms of auto industry,
Yeah.
but when you look at the SUV sales, I think it's doing quite well. They've been growing despite all the turbulence. And the second category that we launch our vehicles in is the segment called EV, electric vehicles that we all know of, and we named the brand GWM EV. So our plan is to launch host of EVs as we move forward. I think as the infrastructure improves and the overall ecosystem improves, you will see a lot of cars coming in that segment as well. So these are the two segments that we are focusing on. One is an emerging one, and one which is doing extremely well. And SUV segment today is the second largest segment after the hatchbacks. So that's the plan, and to make it happen, I think investment is the first important thing.
Yeah.
And we are looking at an estimated figure of $1 billion over the next few years in the area of manufacturing. As you must be aware, we are in discussions with General Motors for their plant in Talegaon.
Yeah.
And the investment will also go into our R&D center in Bengaluru. In fact, our R&D center in Bengaluru has been there for almost 4 years. We opened it in 2016, and we were doing a fair amount of work in terms of our global products, as well as to also understand the Indian market. I think third critical piece where we are investing money is basically supplier base, because as you can understand, suppliers are very, very critical, and localization level is very, very important. So, we need to have a good amount of localization. So building up a supplier base is very critical. So we are talking to our suppliers in China, talking to our vendors, some of the vendors in India as well, and to ensure that our localization strategy is fairly strong. And the last piece is marketing and sales and network. I think that's the go-to market where we are going to invest a fair amount of money as we get closer to the launches. So that's in brief about our strategy for India and the investment plan, etc. So we are looking at launching next year, sometime in 2021. I think as we move further, we'll get to know the exact dates, but 2021, surely will be hitting the market. I think while I'm fairly new to the organization, but what I understand, it's been a while, more than 5 years, this organization, GWM, has been evaluating India, evaluating options, when to enter. So a fairly good amount of study and time has gone into making sure that when we make entry into India, it is flawless. See, if I look at the current capacity of Talegaon plant, it is 137,000 units. That's what GM claims to have.
Yeah.
But of course, when you bring in the products, you need to change the line, the jigs and the fixtures and the tools, etc. So I think that is those are the changes that you need to make on the line. Otherwise, in terms of infrastructure, having a plant and everything, I think I would say 80% is in place and 20% is what we really need to work on. Yeah. See, you need to stand apart. As you said, there are not very few players in this segment. I think it is becoming crowded now. And in order to sell more cars in this segment, you really need to stand out. So there are four things that we are focusing on. First, of course, is the breakthrough design. If you look at our design philosophy, they're very, very futuristic. And we are also showcasing the two concepts H, which are focused towards the future SUVs. And you can make out from the design philosophy that design is what we are really, really focusing on, because that's the first thing that a consumer looks at. The second important thing is the performance of the cars, and we are making sure the engines and the transmissions that we have are world class and ahead of everybody else. The third important thing is the premiumness of the interiors as well as exteriors. That is the third thing which we again want to disrupt. And the last piece is safety, which is becoming very, very critical for all the consumers. And we are bringing in a host of intelligent safety features, which not only include the passive safety but also active safety. In fact, our focus is more on active safety, so that accidents don't even happen, and you give the alerts at the right time to the customers who are driving, and also to people who are around us. So this is what we are looking at, and we look at disrupting every area in the segment. I think it's too early to talk about the localization level. We have started our discussions with the vendor, with the Chinese vendor, as well as people in India. I think as we move forward, we'll get to know the exact percentage, but the attempt will be to maximize the localization level. That's where you get the cost benefits, and that's what makes money for either the organization or customer gets benefited. So we are looking at every segment. SUVs now SUVs are starting from the B SUV and goes up to C++, whatever we may like to categorize. So we want to be present in every SUV segment that you can think of in India, and that's what our focus is. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin into every segment. We want to be known as an SUV company, and that is why the Haval brand, the tagline is Global Intelligent SUV Expert. I think we'll go with the consumer's need, what consumer wants, but what we can make out right now, I think in terms of evolution, we still want a little more traditional, high SUVs, and not the coupe type is what we are getting sense at this point in time. I think autoX is a great opportunity for us, and we are doing a lot of product clinics. I think we'll get exact inputs out of that, and then we'll decide what exactly consumers want, and we'll go as per their choice. See, there are three critical components when it comes to EVs. The first point is, the range of the vehicle or the battery capacity. You need a range of, I feel, minimum of 250 to 300 in Indian scenario, because even if you are going on a long distance, you need to have that minimum range, because you don't want to stop in between and want to charge a car if your range is 100, 125 kilometers. So I think 250 to 300 is a bare essential that you need. Now, the second important thing is the charging infrastructure. So even if you've gone 300 kilometers, you need to charge your car overnight, and it's important to have infrastructure across the place. The third, which is the most important piece, is the cost of ownership. If you see today, despite the government really pushing for it, and there's a huge amount of subsidy to the tune of 40%, because when you look at the EV GST rate, which is around 5%, and a normal IC engine, which is in excess of 40 to 45%, there's a huge gap today in terms of taxes. But despite having this 40% price benefit, the overall initial price difference is still close to 70 to 80%. I feel till the time this gap doesn't reduce less than 25 to 30%, people will not really latch onto it, because it doesn't justify the cost. And for that, I think localization of the batteries and the components is very important. So I think as soon as all these pieces come together, that's when we will see the inflection point. I think range people are slowly addressing. As you can see, the range is slowly increasing for everybody. I think charging infrastructure is also kind of taking off. I think how quickly we can manage the cost of ownership is what will decide the future. We are seriously contemplating, because we have a battery manufacturing plant in China as well. So that is definitely on radar, but too early to really commit to that. See, I think as GWM, we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking at SUV growth in the marketplace. I think that is what really excited us, that despite the slowdown, SUVs are growing. And today, SUV contribution to the overall industry is more than 20%, and it is only gradually increasing. And on the other side, you have a giant, which is an SUV expert or number one SUV. So I think both the things put together really, and as I said, it's not that we just started thinking about it. The work has been going on for 5 years, but both the combination really helped us decide to really go for this move, and hence we are going ahead. Okay, so we are present in 60 countries across the world. I will not have the statistics to tell you, but what I can tell you is the last entry that was in Russia is doing extremely well. In fact, we multiplied our numbers in Russia 3 times over the last couple of years, which talks volumes about the acceptance of the brand and the product in the evolved markets as well. Yeah. See, what I feel is, at a core of every of an organization or an automotive company or the brand is the product, right? And when you look at the product, and yesterday we had a meeting with 50 select dealers from across the country, and some of them happen to be premium luxury brand dealers as well. And what they had to say is the quality of these cars, the build quality, the feel, finish, look, and the gaps. They're saying they are top class and they can be compared to any premium product. So when you have such a solid product in the center of your strategy, I think building brand around it and then taking it to the consumers, I think customers would love it. And when they are looking at it, I think they are simply mesmerized to see the quality and the styling, etc. And I'm very confident that they will latch onto it once it is launched in the marketplace. I'm a big fan of Kotler, and I believe in the 4 Ps, and that is what makes or breaks any of the brands. And let's look at what does it really mean. The first one is of course the product, and that's where everything starts for. In products, you need 2 things. You need to be relevant. You need to be in the segments what customers want. And the second thing is the consistency of product launches. You can't launch a product and then wait a while and let the volumes go up. I think you need to be very consistent in terms of your product strategy. The second important piece is promotion, which is building your brand. And I think that is very, very foundational, because people want to get associated with the brands which are, which they love. And I think that's one of the biggest areas which we'll be focusing on. The third piece is place, which is network. And as I said, I think that to me looks to be the easiest piece at this point in time, because the kind of response I've seen from some of the investors and some of the best investors, I'm absolutely confident about it. And the fourth piece is price, which is about not only the initial price, but the total cost of ownership and the value which customer feels. So it is not only the initial price, but also the cost of maintenance, parts, labor, etc., and including the residual value. So I think that is what we'll focus on. Customer doesn't mind paying more till the time he sees value in that. So I think it is put together in these 4 Ps, and I feel if we have these 4 Ps in place, I'm pretty confident we can crack the market.